Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. My name is Daniel Chavez, and today I'm going to teach you how to play Raise 'Em Up by Keith Urban and Eric Church. I want to preface this by saying this isn't exactly beginner friendly, so if you're a beginner and you try this out, don't let it discourage you. It's in standard tuning and it uses a lot of finger picking. And I also want to be honest with you guys, I am not nearly as talented as Keith Urban on guitar, so I made this into a simplified version. There's an alternate picking pattern he uses between different versions of this song, and I just picked out the easiest one I could remember. So we're going to start off with an E5 power chord. What you're going to want to do is you're going to use your index finger here to bar the second fret of the A and D strings, and you're going to try to leave the open E and B strings on the bottom. That's why my finger is out like this, and that's why I'm showing you that way. And then put your pinky on the 4th fret of the G string. Like I said, this is going to be pretty difficult for some people. So the picking pattern for this first chord is going to go E, D, G, D, high E, B, G, high E, B, G. Now the next finger positioning you're going to do is up here on the fretboard, and again you're going to want to leave the high E and B strings open. So I use my middle finger on the 9th fret of the E string and my index finger on the 8th fret of the G string. And as you can tell, again, I have my fingers off the high E and the B string. So once you get your finger positioning set up, you want to pluck low E, G, high E, B, G. Then you're going to switch to the next chord. So the next one, you just slide your index finger all the way down to the 6th fret of the G string, and you're going to use your pinky to stretch out all the way to the 9th fret of the low E string. And you still want to have that B and high E string open. And for this one, you do the same finger picking pattern. It's going to be low E, G, high E, B, G. Now, this one might be really difficult for some people, but keep practicing. It took me like a week to get it. So from the 2nd chord to the 3rd chord, switch back to that E5 chord. Now the picking pattern for this one is going to be A, D, G, D, B, G, D, and then you go up to high E, B, G. Before switching to the last chord, which is going to be an A5 or an A power chord, which is just the 2nd fret of the D and G strings, and all the other strings are open. And you're going to pluck A, B, G, D, A, high E, B, G, D. So altogether it should sound like this. Play it slower. Practice that for a while because that's a majority of the first part of the song. So that part you just learned, you play 4 times at the beginning of the verse. And on the 4th time, you actually don't have to pick out that last A5 chord, you're just going to strum down. And this is what I mean. And that's just before he goes into the 3rd verse. So he starts off the 3rd verse with an E major chord as opposed to the E5 power chord that you've been using. You can still use the E5 power chord, but this is just something I noticed when I watched him play it. So it's just a regular E major chord, and it's plucked the same way as the E5. So E, D, G, D, high E, B, G, high E, B, G. And then the rest of the chords are the same. Now the second time around in the 3rd verse, he goes back to the E5 power chord. So it's just that one time he switches. Just keep that in mind if you want to try that out. The next part you're going to learn is in the second chorus where he starts strumming out the chords instead. And the ones he's going to use are E major, C sharp minor 7th, E5, and then A5. And it's going to sound like this. This goes all the way from Black Umbrellas in the Pouring Rain to the next time he says raise 'em up. And the strumming pattern for each of these chords is going to be down, up, mute, down, up, mute, down, down, up. So E. Then you switch to the C sharp minor 7th. Now in this one you saw that I was doing some hammer-ons in my strums. You don't need to do those if you don't want to. I just like the way they sound. But a C sharp minor 7th chord is going to be your index finger barring the 4th fret of the A, D, G, and B strings. And you put your ring finger on the 6th fret of the D string and your middle finger on the 5th fret of the B string. So you can do the same strumming pattern, or with each down strum you can do the hammer-ons. It's up to you. Next chord is going to be the E5. And then you have the A5. So all together slower. Repeat those for the chorus. Now the next part of the song is going to be the bridge, I guess you would call it, where he says, so you meet someone, the only one, you take her by the hand, and so on. You want to use these chords, set yourself up for an A5 chord, which you've already learned, and then just add the 2nd fret of the low E string. And lightly touch the A string so it doesn't ring out, and you're just going to strum down once and let it ring out. And then you go to a C sharp minor 7th, strum that one out. Go back to a regular A5, and then the last one you just repeat the first chord you did. So that A5 with the F sharp bass note. So you meet someone, the only one, you take her by the hand, make a stand, buy some land, make some love, and then babies come. And then you go back into the strumming, where he says raise 'em up. Now the only difference on the last part of the song is where he throws in all those whoa-wohs with the chorus in the background. You do the same strumming pattern with the same chords as the chorus, but you just don't mute them. So they'll go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and switch chords. And that's how you play Raise 'em Up. Alright guys, I know there are a ton of other variations of this song and other people teaching how to play it in different ways. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this one. I did learn it by watching Keith Urban in a video that I'll post in a link down below, so I hope you're able to see what I try to do there. Thank you Munchie Gamer again for the request. I hope you're able to learn it by Friday so you can play it for your school. And as always guys, if you have any requests, go ahead and leave them in the comment box down below. I add to the list every time you guys give me a suggestion, and I'll try to get to it as soon as I can. If you have any questions, go ahead and send them my way and I'll try to answer them as best I can. Thanks for watching guys. I'll see you next time.